Hey everybody, it's Strict9 with Strict9 GP, and I'm back with another episode of my Draft Day Sports College Basketball 2020 playthrough. On my second team now with Penn State Nittany Lions, and about to start my second season. We just finished pretty much the off season. We got one more task to do before we really kind of get started in practice and maybe recruiting, although I think recruiting starts sometime in June or July, so we're a little bit above that. We're just a Sunday, May 1st, but I thought this episode I would just kind of look at my team, go through the depth chart, go through my strategies, um, take a look a little bit of more of a deep dive into what I plan on doing this season. One of the things I changed about last season's episodes, and with this team, with Austin Peay, I pretty much played out every game. And I thought there were some games where I just probably um, hamstrung, well, what's the best way of saying it? I kicked myself in the foot, really, um, by the way I was always adjusting the team, in game. And the thing about basketball is it's going to have a different flow. It's a lot of back and forth. It's the momentum changes are going to be quick and between teams, and the flow is going to be different. You're not going to dominate usually unless you're just a great team playing a poor one. You're not going to dominate a whole game. So I'd find myself, as soon as we started playing bad and had a bad streak, I would just start making adjustments. And I think it really hosed the way we would play. And probably I caused myself to lose more games than we should have. So I've been simming more with this Penn State team. And I think because of that, if you're playing that way, you're going to really have to pay attention to the strategies you're using, the depth charts you're using, and make sure you've got the right players, the right positions, and the right minutes, and just make sure you got the right strategy out there. So I'm going to look at that today. Maybe that'll help you guys out too if you're playing this game, just kind of looking at the screens and the options you have available to do that. But things are going to be tough this year because I was, with Austin Peay, we were a low prestige team in a low prestige conference. There was very little pressure on that team. But with this one, last season, I had a better record by far than the previous team. So let's see. Well, season recaps here. We were 14-16. Look at that. I mean, that was double the win amount they had 3 seasons ago. Most wins they've had here in 4 seasons. And I'm already in jeopardy with my job. Check this out. I mean, job security is just at 60%. I've still got the same goals that I had for that first season, so that's good, hopefully. But I'm really going to have to turn it around. It's going to have to be a better season. I think, 14-16, I probably need 3 at least, maybe 4 more wins to really keep my job for the length of this contract, which is, I think, 4 years. I signed a 4-year contract. So that's why I want to make sure I do as much as I can this season to improve the play. I think we even dropped in prestige after last season. I really don't know why, because it was their best season in a while. So we went from, I think, 2.5 stars on team prestige down to 2. So it's not an easy challenge for sure. I thought it was going to be a little bit easier. The recruiting probably is going to be easier than Austin Peay, but the actual gameplay is not going to be any easier because your competition is tougher here. But let's go ahead and start off. I want to look at the dashboard for the most part, and we'll go through the players. And then I'm going to go through how my strategies are matching up with the depth chart. And I think for the most part, I think I'm okay. I think I have the right system right now. We'll just have to see. But I think, a lot of this is going to just kind of going back to what I was saying about, being in game and making too many changes and adjustments. I think you have to stay the course for at least most of the season. I mean, if we got in halfway into the season and we were like struggling to get to 500 or even way worse, maybe I'll make some adjustments. But I think from what I'm seeing with this game, it's really about being consistent. At least that's what it seems like to me. So we only lost, I think we only lost like one player from this team last season. He was our starting power forward, I think. And I don't know that that's going to be a terrible loss. He was like a good overall player, but not much of a scorer at the power forward position. And so now, the way this team is looking, I mean, these are based on my scouts' ratings, or the coach who's scouting on this team, and I believe he's a 3-star in scouting, but let me double check. So he's scouting, he's a 3-star, so that's not bad on his scouting ability. But the positives are going to be, I've got a true point guard here now who is a transfer in. 3.5 stars, great at free throws and outside shooting. Maybe not a good scorer, but he's got what you're looking for, I think, for the most part in a point guard. Above average passing, average with a potential to be above average in ball handling. Athleticism, I think 9 is the max. I don't think you can go to 10 on these ratings, but 9 out of 10 if nothing else. Court IQ and discipline, average to above average. Stealing, I mean, he's a well-rounded point guard. If I look at, he's coming from Liberty. He put up some good numbers there in the 2 seasons he had. So I think he's going to be a bigger improvement, because what I was having to do last season at point guard, this guy was a freshman coming in with, some decent potential. But I went with a shooting guard in Duke Pepper. I played him primarily at point guard because I thought he was a good shooter, but he had better passing and athleticism and things like that than I think Odell. His stats for that first year or full year at point guard weren't bad. Just under 10 points a game, just under 5 assists a game. Not a bad player. I don't know if this gives you the plus or minus, but really I thought a pretty good season. But now I get to move him back to his true position at shooting guard if I want to, because really shooting guard is going to be a toss-up, I think, between Pepper and D'Elia, who was the starting shooting guard last year. He's a 4-star potential. He's got more potential than Pepper, and he's a senior, but his stats, I think he led the team in scoring at 11 points, just got 21 points or 21 minutes a game. So I may want to give him more minutes this year and rely on him to be our top scorer and just use Pepper primarily off the bench as a shooting guard, but maybe mixing him up with point guard as well. But what I want to do is, before we get into the depth charts, I wanted to look at the strategies that I'm running. And so what I think is pretty neat about this, and I've gone through and noticed it already. So I had a young team last year. I stayed with this same set strategy, with using it 60% of the time, going with flex half the time, high post, and 5 out. And what I've been seeing so far is the team now has a pretty good proficiency in these offenses, and I'll let you see what I'm talking about there. And that's why I think if you're building a team, if you're just starting off with a new team, set your go through your team and see where those proficiencies are starting out. find a good strategy that you think works and just stay with it, because especially if you got like freshmen, sophomores that you're getting a lot of play time, when they become juniors and seniors, they're going to know these offenses really well. And I'm going to show you that in a minute. You're going to see some guys who have really good proficiencies in these offenses. And I think staying the course with that is going to lead to, I'm hoping anyway, it's going to lead to better play and more wins. So let's take a look at what I'm talking about there. So I'm just going to start with the top of the roster here from the dashboard screen, not the roster screen. But first off, we got Odell, who was mainly a backup point guard for me last season. Got in 12 minutes, not too bad in terms of his numbers, as a point guard. But what I want to look at here is under his player bio. And I'm looking at these offensive proficiencies primarily. I mean, I'm not worried too much about defense because that's going to stay about the same. But so I'm running a flex, high post, and 5 out. And you can see a lot of it, he's a sophomore. It's based on play time. Those are where his top proficiencies land. The offenses that we've run or we're set to run, that's where he's got the most proficiencies. So flex, high post, triangle, 2-3 zone attack, and the zone attacks I think are pretty primary offensive zone. So I don't know if you can really improve that much on those anyway. But I think with him, it's just a matter of more play time this season. He gets to be a junior, maybe even a senior. He may be a good option to start full time at point guard. Now I go to this guy. The transfer in, he's also got good proficiencies, especially with high post, 5 out. So he's good with the zone attacks as well. But, I think I can, from what I'm seeing here, especially with high post, I'm going to be able to run the offense with this guy as a point guard. I expect he's going to get even better as the season goes on. I move over to D'Elia, shooting guard, senior, top player, scorer last year. Look at this. Flex, high post, 5 out in the 80s. So this is why I think if I stay with these offenses, this guy is going to be the leading scorer again because he's proficient in these sets. I move over to Ferguson, a sophomore with pretty good potential, but he's going to be a backup shooting guard. Same deal, his proficiencies, because this is what we ran last year. He's getting up there. I don't know what a good target would be, but I'm thinking that if, especially like D'Elia in the 80s, that might be pretty rare. But once these guys start seeing 50 and above proficiencies, I think they're going to be more comfortable with the offense and more comfortable enough that you're going to see some good numbers out of them. Bailey, another backup, shooting guard, same deal, flex, high post, 5 out. He's above 50, 4-star potential. So I'm stacked, I think, at shooting guard. It's like that's going to be probably the biggest challenge for me filling out that depth chart because I'd like to get these guys some play time. I move on to Pepper, of course, another one, 80s in the flex and high post, 78 and 5 out. Good zone. He's good proficiencies in the zone offenses. That's why I really would like to see this guy get a lot of play time. I don't know how I'm going to put him in the mix. Eddie Perry. Now we're moving over to small forward. I'm not as strong in small forward this year, I don't think, as I need to be. Once again, because of limited play time as a freshman last year. What did he get? Like just under 4 minutes. But for the most part, he's still showing proficiencies in flex, high post, 5 out. David Robinson, who started at small forward, I say I'm pretty weak, but I guess he's a decent player. I guess he was second in scoring, good rebounder at that position. The big thing with him, I think, is he's not too upset. This was something that happened, I guess, on the side as kind of like some role-playing aspects of the game last year. The backup small forward, AD Lee, these guys were back and forth arguing throughout the season. I'm hoping that doesn't happen this year. Robinson's definitely the better player, and he's a junior, so unless he leaves, he's going to be around for another season. But he's above 50 in flex, high post, 5 out, so I think he's comfortable playing those sets. A.D. Lee, however, the guy who is the backup and has good potential, he is more proficient. I mean, that's no question. And the argument, what was happening last season, if you didn't get a chance to watch some of the episodes, Lee wants to start. He thinks he's a better player than Robinson. He thinks he should be starting. He only got 8 minutes a game. When he did, I mean, he responded. I mean, he scores at a better pace than Robinson. So I don't know. I may have to see how these two look in the non-conference, part of the schedule early on. He's a transfer in, so he's coming from St. Joseph's, a pretty good school. But he is definitely more proficient. I mean, these are the kind of proficiencies you look for, I think, in the offenses you're running. So now we move over to power forward. Jennings, sophomore. I think this guy's primarily going to be a backup. He got very little minutes last year. His proficiencies are the same. He's above 50, so he's comfortable in the offenses we're running. But I think I'm going to have to let Jones take over. He's 2.5 stars right now, 4 potential. He's just a sophomore. He wanted to play last year. He was really upset. In looking at the profile here, you'll see his coach relationship is very low. I'm surprised he didn't transfer out, to be honest. So I think he's going to be the starting power forward, and we'll see how he does with it. But I think even though he doesn't have the proficiencies as Fleming, I think was his name, but that's going to come with time, and so I think that'll be good. And then we go the centers, which we've got Sandin, returning sophomore, who got most of the starts last year. Good size on this guy. I just don't think he's a good enough defender, and he is proficient for the most part after playing so much last season. He's above 50 in the offenses that we run. But you look at his stats, a fairly good scoring center, but defenses, 18.5 minutes under 3 rebounds, blocks per game were almost non-existent. So that leads to the big guy, Johnny Parks, our freshman recruit. This guy was a 3-star recruit from our scout, was one of the best in our region anyway, that I think it was Atlantic region, Northeast region, I can't remember. But he was, I think top 10 at his position for that region. I do like what I'm seeing from him already. 4-star potential, another, same current and potential as Sandin, but I like his defensive ability across the board a little bit better, and I think he's still going to be a decent inside player, inside scorer. I think he's the one to go with. And right now, this is just a good illustration of what you're seeing, or what you'll see. Flex, high post, and 5 out. He's 0 at these right now, but that's going to come with playtime. And then last player, Clark, who, what did he get? Man, 16 minutes a game. I'm surprised he got that much. He's a walk-on. That's going to go way down this season. He's a junior, but I do like the fact that now I have 3 seniors or centers. I only had 2 centers last season. So he'll be the odd man out, but at least he'll be able to play, come in when some of these guys get in foul trouble. He is proficient in our offenses in the 60s, so he's more proficient than any other player on the team. I think in some ways he's a better rebounder than Sandin, and I think that bears it out in the stats. 3.5 rebounds in a little less playtime than Sandin, and blocks per game, though, none. So I'm really hoping that this freshman recruit, Johnny Parks, I'm really hoping that I see good defense from him. So that's what I'm looking at. I think I'm going to stick with the offenses I've got, the percentages, and I think we've got some good upside here. I think not D'Elia. Yeah, D'Elia, I think, is going to really step it up a little bit this season. I think he's going to have a good game. I think this new point guard is going to help us out. I even think Jones at power forward. I think he'll settle into the role. I'm hoping anyway. When he played, yeah, he didn't give you much. I mean, I gave him 12 minutes, and I think based on these numbers, I think he's not that bad of an overall player. His ratings, rebounding is high, free throw shooting is pretty good, inside shooting is good. So he's probably not going to get a whole lot of scoring opportunities, but he's going to be, I think, a good guy to have on the floor for the most part. So now that brings me to the next thing I wanted to go over this episode, which is the depth chart. But before we do that, I'm going to go ahead and advance because I think the next advance is going to be buying these scouting reports. We don't have a whole lot of budget, and I don't want to use too much of it because we do have more more recruiting scholarships available this year than we had last year. The way I'm counting, it should be 2 as opposed to 1 last year. So if I did like the AI, they just suggest the Atlantic East Basic Edition. I'm going to go with that for one more season because I feel like I'm hoping anyway that we'll still get some good recruits out of our region. I do think the center we got, Clark, was a good recruit for us. So let's go ahead and advance this. And then we should be able to move into the depth chart because the thing that I was holding out on is the transfer in was not, he was 1 day away from being ready to add to the team roster. So now let's take a look at the inbox, see what we got going on here. So we got players. I knew it. I thought I had gone through the transfer section already, but Jones is transferring out. And so now we're going to have to look at go through the transfers. So this is changing things up a little bit, but his relationship was just too bad. And now Jennings is not, he's not in a great place with us. That's tough. I mean, I guess, could I move Sandin over to power forward? Would that be a good idea? Or would one of these small forwards be able to play that position? That's one of the things I don't know that it tells me anywhere. And I do think we got some good potential here. Looking at the rosters just down the line, you take out the walk-ons, which, well, I think we only have one walk-on right now. I mean, these is 4 and 3, 3.5, 4-star potential all up and down the line on some of these young players. But gosh. So, I'm stuck now with power forward. And, that is one thing. I either I'm missing it or I would like to know, like, if I go to David Robinson, is there a way to see? Man, he's gone down in a couple numbers from last year, or ratings, but is there a way to see what positions they can play? I'm not seeing it here under the player bio. Under the profile, not really seeing it there. Player stats, not really seeing it there. Of course, game logs, I shouldn't see it there. that really throws a wrench in the situation here because I know I'm going to have to play Jennings. I mean, I might take a guy like Perry, who has decent size, good potential in the rebounding categories, good potential up and down the line. I mean, he may be somebody that I'm going to have to throw in there at power forward right now. Um, I mean, if you just take a look at the depth chart that we have, so the way I would like to run it, I know that he's going to be starting point guard, and I can just pencil him in. Probably, well, I'll probably put Odell backing up. Like that for now, and maybe mix it up a little bit in here. But I want to get this guy 20 plus minutes. So he would start out the second half and then down the stretch, give him 28 minutes. D'Elia, he's going to be the starting short shooting guard, small forward. That looks good. Jennings, he's the only true power forward we have. So it's, he's going to have a good season. But I'll probably, like I say, I think I'll mix it up. Like Perry, I think you're going to get some time at power forward. I think Lee, I don't foresee, but this might be a good option here. I may be able to, because his defensive ability is pretty good. He might even be a better option to start at power forward. I don't know if that's would be a mistake or not, but I think it might be a good way to go because this guy's he's a junior. He's not going to develop that much. But Lee really does have, I think, he's also a junior, but he's got a little bit better ratings already. Oh man. So that's what I'm going to be up against for sure. I think I'm going to have to Jennings, you're probably going to get some start time, but then I'm going to put Perry in there. I'm going to put Lee in there. Lee's probably going to have to get a lot of time here. I'm giving Robinson a lot of time, and then Lee, I think, man, is Robinson, does he have the durability? He's very durable. So I think he's going to get a lot of play time. He's a junior. He's one of my better players. So he's going to wind up, with a lot of minutes. So we got Lee coming in probably, so 246. I want him to get a little bit more time there, and then power forward. Bailey, no. Man, this is crazy. Now Pepper, I haven't even started putting him into the mix. Ferguson, I haven't started putting him into the mix. I mean, if Jennings can show me something, but AD Lee, oh gosh, I want him to be power forward right there. So that's not perfect right now. but and that's a lot of time. I mean, I'm gonna have to probably mix that up a little bit. Maybe because we only have. I mean, we got Perry here. I've put him at power forward. I can probably put him at shooting or small forward a couple times here. Say like to give him some rest there. Oh, that was the wrong guy. So this depth chart is already a heck of a lot different than I thought it was going to be. Now Bailey, what is he good at? He's 6'4", 216. He's a junior with some decent play, but I think I'm going to put Pepper in there primarily because he's going to be, he's going to look really good with this offense. So Pepper's going to come in and play. Well, no, I want him there. It's only 10 minutes for him so far. I think he deserves more play time. But I may have to go with that right now. I don't want to leave Bailey too far out because he's going to be back next year. Pepper's not. I just think this. I'm going to move him up a little bit there. And then I've got to get. I've already put Parks as a starting center. I'm probably going to. Let me see how he looks on playtime. He wants solid minutes. I mean, Sandin is going to have to get some. He's going to have to be the backup center for the most part. So I would probably put him in here at all these spots. I'm a little worried because I was just talking up that power forward, and like I say, that's the thing that you run into. You get the relationships that bad, and it's a young player. I had this happen with Austin Peay, my top scorer one year. His coach relationship got down in that red zone, I think below 10. I could not keep it. I couldn't get it back. I'm not seeing that with any of these guys, even though they're red. And it's probably going to get better. I mean, Jennings is I'm not seeing any terrible relationships this year, but man, that's a big blow. So I've got the practice plan set the way I want it. I'm not going to change that from last season. Now recruiting, I didn't think it was going on, but yeah, it doesn't start until June. Let's take a look at this. Is probably the last thing I do this episode. Let's take a look at the transfers, and let's just see if there's. I mean, what I want to. I guess power forward would be the spot to look at. So let's take a look at interest first of all. So we got top 5 from some guys here at power forward. This guy's coming from, where's he coming from? Valparaiso. Uh, Davis out of Arizona. Hmm. Good rebounder. Good inside shooter, and athleticism's good. But he's overall D. So he played at UC Santa Barbara. Put up some decent numbers there. Who else we got? I don't like this guy's size. I know that's probably stupid, but 6'6", 192. I'd like a little bit more bulk at power forward. And then Dixon's another guy from Valparaiso. Let's take a look at this guy. Let me add him to the. Let me add both these guys to the contact list. Give him a call. Is that how we do this now? We've got one scholarship available. Oh, it's a little different here. I'm sorry. So I'm going to contact this guy. We're fourth on his list. Fourth, third. The only thing is, this guy's a sophomore. Let me take a look. I'm going to contact him. And I'm going to, even though he's D, that scares me overall rating wise. I'm not so sure I wouldn't rather have like a true recruit other than a transfer. But let's just see what that gets us. So what was Howard again? It looks like he started at Valparaiso. Pretty good overall numbers. So let's advance on those and see what we get. And I don't know if I've ever showed the transfer process in this game. So if you've never seen it, it's a little bit different than the recruiting. But okay, now we go to transfer section 2. And I want to go to interest again, top 5. So we've already got some guys moving out. He's a center. I'm not going to waste too much time on that. I don't know what happened to the guys that I contacted. Let's just look at position, and doesn't look like you can scrub it here like you can with recruiting either. So I'm looking for a power forward. And it was, who was it? It was this guy who's a D. And then the other guy was from Wisconsin. Howard, he's an F. Looking at the overalls, I do see 1A small forward from Mississippi State. And he's from Rhode Island. Wow, this guy would be really good guy to get. But look at this, Kansas, Florida. He's going wherever he wants to go. He's not going to go to Penn State. You know what? I think I'm just going to move on. I don't think... I don't think it's worth it. Last year I was able to get a good point guard transfer in, but this year I don't think it's going to be better than what I would see in at least I'm hoping in recruiting. We could take a look at it once again just to see if there's any other guys who are showing interest. But I want to look at the overall too and see. I mean, there's one C guy here, and nobody has any interest. So I think I'll skip it. I don't want to put my money, which is, I wouldn't say it's limited, but I don't want to waste a whole lot of money in the transfer window. So I'm just going to go ahead and get out of and skip that. So that'll let me skip through the sessions. I'll take a look at the practice plan and then take one more glance at that depth chart, and then I'll probably do it for this episode. I expect I will move through the recruiting and get to the start of the season, start of that non-conference schedule for the next episode. I think I've gone through some recruiting before in these episodes, and it's good. It's good to show it every once in a while, but hopefully by now, if you've watched some of my series, you'll get the gist of it. It's just a matter of, getting the top players interested in your team, contacting them, and really the goal is to, with recruiting, the hardest pitch you're going to make is when you get to that period where you, the coach, head coach, can go do the home visits, and you want to be able to pitch to the recruit that you're going to visit. You want to make sure that you recruit or you pitch what he's most interested in, and that's what you'll find that out through multiple contacts and going to visit him and things like that. So maybe I'll skip recruiting for this year, but we'll see. And then that should get through all the transfers. Now the next level is going to be travel plans, but we should be into recruiting at this point. Let me make sure, or we may have one more day on recruiting. Yep, one more day to start recruiting. But the practice plan is, I think, going to stay the same because I know what I'm running: flex, high post, 5 out. So I'm going to leave it the same. Like I said at the start of the episode, this year is going to be about staying the course and letting some of these younger guys improve the proficiency they've already developed with these offenses. And I think we might be able to just see some better play this year, but I also think that losing that power forward was a huge blow. I don't think we're going to have... Yeah, we got to walk on senior here just to fill out the roster. I'm going to see how the depth chart looks with some of these guys playing out of position, like Lee playing some time at power forward, but I don't expect to give this guy much play time. He's a senior. I don't see any benefit to it. But that'll do it for this episode. Thanks for watching. Like some of the comments you're giving me. I got some great tips from I forgot his name, but some great tips from a viewer on the insights option here. I did not pay much attention to this last year, but there's some pretty good stuff in here. It not only gives you like your team rankings, but it's also going to give you lineup tracking so that you can see how the depth charts are working. And I've got to, if you see me not doing this at the start of the season, pop me a note in the comments to remind me. I think this is going to be key too, to seeing how your depth charts really look. I wish I had been paying attention to that, but that's going to be something I'm going to try to pay more attention to this season. But I'm really, at this point, optimistic about it. I think I'm going to be able to turn it around a little bit this season. And hey, 2 seasons down the line, I think everything falls into place. We might be starting to compete in that Big Ten, but we'll see. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next episode.